There's a massive demand for visual analytics right now, and it's been driven by the fact that it's not that analytics is suddenly a new thing. Companies have been using it a long time. It's that the business intelligence products of old that were good at telling you how many sales you did in the last quarter are not that applicable in the context of an operational situation. So when you've got a lot of real-time data, you've got massive volumes of data, and the need to understand what's happening now, what happened yesterday, as well as what might happen in the future are very important. And so in order to make a decision that's needed right now, a critical business decision that'll affect lives, will affect safety, you need newer kind of analytics products, and that's what's driving the demand. If you look at some of the use cases, it ranges from using it in an asset context, a lot of aging assets, of course, in the utility infrastructure. And so the question is, how do you decide which assets to replace first? And how do you make a rate case justification to replace those assets? So understanding which assets are likely to fail, which ones are ahead of their lifespan, which are behind their expected lifespan, so you can prioritize those. On the metering side, it's all about revenue assurance and revenue protection. And how do you understand the data coming out of your meters? Is there theft considerations, tampering considerations? And if a meter is not responding, why is it not responding? Is it because there's an outage in the area, the customer hasn't paid their bill, is there a communications issue, and so on? So understanding all of these factors across the grid is where analytics and visual analytics in particular can play a very important role for a company. One of the key elements of visual analytics and situational intelligence in particular is the idea of correlating data from different sources. And some of it is IT sources, so you could have alarms on doors or video feeds and so on that are informing you about security situations. And it could be IT-oriented security issues about cybersecurity and so on. So if you take an example of, let's say there's a cyber attack, a denial of service attack on your company, you might have SCADA alarms being triggered due to a slowdown in the network, and you'll also have alarms on your IT systems. And so if I've got two people looking at two different systems, what are they going to be able to determine from that situation? They'll have different points of view. Whereas if you correlate all of that together and look at it and say, okay, hold on, there's a cyber attack here, our SCADA alarms are actually because of that same attack, then you can make a very different decision, take a different action. So analytics can really help in not just physical security, but cybersecurity as well. As you think about, tomorrow is going to be a really hot day, how do I understand which customers can participate perhaps in a demand response program? And have they participated in that program before? And how do I optimize the use of my distributed generation? And comes to batteries and comes to solar, how do all of those fit into a bigger picture? It's also about understanding the demand and the load that's going to be imposed on my grid. So as more people buy electric vehicles, for example, what kind of load is that going to impose, and how do I better plan for that going forward in the future? It comes down to three words: space, time, and node. So understanding where your assets are and what's around them. So if I've got a transformer, what's in the vicinity? If that transformer is failing or on fire, how many customers are going to be affected in that vicinity? How many other assets do I have crews there? So that's a spatial aspect. Understanding the temporal aspect of when did that fire start, what caused it? Perhaps it was a lightning strike, so looking back in time. And then looking forward to say, well, how is that fire going to progress? Are other assets in danger? Are people in danger? And then understanding the nodal implications of that fire. So what's upstream and what's downstream from that asset that might be affected, so I can understand the implications on my grid and my customers. So when you bring all of that together, you have a complete understanding of of any event, of any situation, to know what happened, where it happened, when it happened, why it happened, and how it happened. And with that understanding, you can then make a really good decision.